What are the contracts we make with fairy in order to stay in right relationship?
Very specifically with the fairy people, who, of course, traditionally are all around the world. They're called lots of different names in different countries, but we all understand that these are the beings that live in wood, forest, river, and so on, and are all around us. And they are our cousins. They are our older relatives, if you will. And so our relationship with them is one that, I mean, in Elizabethan times, so Shakespeare, for example, would have totally understood the term good neighbours, because they were often called by propitiatory names that didn't upset them. And so people would call them the good neighbours. And good neighbours have certain contracts. If I loan you my axe, you will give it back to me. If I am hungry, you will give me something to eat. Yes? Another time when you're hungry, I'll give you something to eat. So that there is reciprocal agreement whereby we try not to upset the order of things. With the fairy people, you can read any folk legend you like, any fairy story you like. You can work out the courtesies of fairy very quickly, because they're about telling the truth, keeping your word, because we are not very good keepers of our word, we human beings. Sometimes we are, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily always agree with us, and so we might change things. The fairy people do not change things, and that ability to keep an agreement, to not trespass on parts of the land we should not trespass upon, those that should be left beautiful. Everyone understands that Yellowstone Park is set aside, and that no one's going to put a factory in the middle of it. No?
Hopefully.
But these are what I would call the common courtesies of those with whom we share the earth. But still around the world, we see places where that's not being honoured right now. And so the consequences for us as human beings and for those with whom we share the earth is not good. So these are I think these are very common sense things. It's like, keep your word, do not upset your neighbours. Do not park your SUV on the middle of their lawn. We understand these things. They're not difficult to understand. But when we extend them to the fairy world, which of course most people say, well, I can't see it, so how would I know? But in olden times, and still in some places, still in Ireland, before anyone puts up a house on a piece of land that's not been previously built on, they'll still put pegs and make in the corners of the outline where a house is intended, and they'll leave it for 3 days. Yes, and if they come back and find that those pegs have moved or been thrown out, they won't build there, because they know that that's the land of the fairies. Yes, so I think most of these things are pretty common sense.
But just to think about that for a minute, you're getting ready to go build your garden shed, and just to take a few moments, just to take some sticks and put them in the ground and see what happens. Just leave it for 3 days. We don't have to move so quickly. We can learn to listen to the land, and some land is sacred land. Some land is, yes, you can have a house here. But to start to actually listen to the land and realize that it's a sentient being, that everything's animated, that this is all a living dream, and that we're participating in it. We're not dominating anything, we're participating. So beautiful. So beautiful. So is there a practice or a song or something that you would like to leave us with today?
Sure, yes, I will. And it really concerns the place where we are now. So I'll just outline this briefly, and people can take notes and do it for themselves. But it's a form for establishing relationship with the land. And it's about going outside it could be your garden, it could be to the woods where you walk, it could be some place that's near you, in your vicinity. And find a place that's good to be, to stand, or to sit. and to just sink your awareness down into the heart of the earth and just be quiet and experience what it is that's happening when you do that. What relationship do you have with what is beneath you? And that could be the land itself, and it could be many other things that come up. And it's like, be aware of, maybe your mind seems to skip about and suddenly you're thinking about someone who's died recently or something else. That probably could be part of it too. So maybe your mind isn't maybe skipping around, but it's actually going to understand something through that means. It's a reminder. And then to look up, what is your awareness of the sky above you? What's your relationship with all that is above you? What do you receive from that relationship? What do you understand by it? And then to do the same in every direction, the direction that you're facing, what do you notice? What is between you and the way ahead? What is it that lies behind that direction? What is it that your senses are telling you? And to do that with all the directions behind you, before you, to your left and right. And so you're kind of standing in like a cube of space, so you've done above, below, and all the sides around you. And then you need to go within, because it's also about you. You're not left out of this relationship. It's like, how do those different directions understand you? And all the time you're doing this to sort of keep your belly soft, because that and you keeping your breathing easy is a way that people can become harmless within their own environment. Be aware of what happens, what arises in your understanding. And to thank the place at the end where you've been standing and to acknowledge your kinship with it. And just stand there at the end and consider what has changed, either around you or within you, and what now is the relationship of that place with where you stand. And whether you have to do a lot of traveling or whether you have to, you have very little time to go and do such things,